Carson was diagnosed with stage 4 neuroblastoma when he was 3 years old. His bone marrow was 75% tumor, and he was covered head to toe in cancer.
They didn't even think he'd live through the weekend, let alone 9.5 years later. In the end, Carson was giving CPR for a long time. The doctors told us that there wasn't anything that they could do. We gathered around and we all prayed. All of a sudden, his heartbeat came back, his pulse came back, and he was completely stable. And the ER doctor said it was miraculous, and he was a real fighter. I went over to Carson and said that we were so happy that he was fighting to come back to us, but that we were okay with him going to heaven, and there would be a better place for him, and he wouldn't be in pain anymore.
Once Mommy said, hey, it's okay to go, he went. A minute later, his heart stopped. And so we knew he wanted to be there, and we want him there, and we'll be with him again someday.
One of the biggest things is meeting so many other parents that were going through the same thing, and a lot of them were really angry with God.
Our family stood in faith, and we saw amazing outpourings of love from others, and God showing us love, and with just tremendous, amazing people. God was saying, trust me, and he was also entrusting us with this great God story.
God prepared us to go through it saying, as a Christian, why not me instead of why me? Carson went through his whole journey the same way, even through all the harsh chemos and sickness and everything. He never once said, why me?
We quickly saw, as we shared Carson's story, that other people were touched. We started seeing this following all around the world that grew and grew because people saw that we trusted in God. And that really was uplifting for me. I knew God was using this little boy for a much greater purpose. And I'm not going to lie, right? It breaks your heart. You miss his physical being. And you think some days he's going to say, hey, Daddy, but we trust that God's will is perfect, and he has a perfect plan, and that he had a perfect plan for Carson and our family.
Our parents asked us if we wanted another brother, and I just vividly remember that, and we were all so excited.
When he was diagnosed with cancer, I was 15 at the time, and I was kind of confused at trying to look up what exactly it was online, how severe it was.
Carson was really the leader of teaching his brothers how to navigate through it because he did have such a peace about him.
Even though he was super sick, he'd still just give you that smile, and it just made everyone feel better.
They would see that peace, that divine peace that Carson had, and that real courage and strength.
It was a blessing for me to be able to be down there and for him to want me to be down there.
They just had such a strong connection, and they never felt bad for him because he didn't feel bad for himself.
He taught me to be kind, and he'd just make everyone happy, and he'd warm up the room.
Sometimes I go through my day and I start to hear myself complain about something, and now after seeing Carson go through treatment, and horrendous treatment twice in 12 years, and being such a little boy and never hearing him complain, he proved how amazing he was through his actions.
When he relapsed, he said that he was healed once and he can be healed again. And for us, we feel like he was healed in heaven. He's playing again and reading and doing all the things that he couldn't do when he was sick.
When we announced his death on the Carson Strong page, he had over 1,000 shares and 240,000 people read it. And we had thousands of, people reaching out to us and just saying, I'm so much closer to God because of this story, or I've turned to God, or, which is the amazing, uplifting part for us, that God used our son, for this incredible way for the last 12 years.
Carson just had such an amazing God story. He was kind to everyone. He had a great faith, and for me, sharing his story and the way he went through life is what's most important to me, and to continue that legacy.